Okay, now this is a hand from a session that I've just played, and it was fairly interesting because it covered three useful topics, namely three betting pre-flop, uh, bluffing post-flop, and also bet sizing as well. Now the villain at the table, he played about three hands at the time, and I think I had him playing three and raising two of his three hands. So in a cut-off v button situation, then once he raises, that's a fairly easy three bet. Now we've hardly got any stats on the guy, so we can't make too many conclusions. But he started the hand with $16.10. He sat down with 20. He's not topped his stack up. He's not playing at any of my other tables. I assume he's just playing this table and he's just playing with $20 and not reloading. So it looks like he's probably going to sit down, lose his money and leave, and it's up to us to really make sure that we're the ones who benefit from that. So we make a fairly standard three bet from the button, especially when you're looking at a button v cutoff situation. With a nice but not superb hand, we'd prefer it if the ace and the king were not of the same suit. If they were suited with the 10 and the 8 to give me an ace high flush draw and a king high flush draw. But for the purposes of three betting this guy, he's going to be well ahead of his range. So we're quite happy to three bet in this situation and see where it takes us. Anyway, he calls and the flop comes down. A fairly good flop for my hand because there's no straights out there, there's no flush draws. It's not a flop that you can really connect it that well with four random cards. So when he checks to us, we're obviously going to toss a bet out because we want to take it down here and now because we've essentially got nothing. We've actually got a gut shot and two backdoor flush draws, which might come in handy. But when we consider the pot to stack ratio, then I don't think they're going to come into play here. And I've put a bet out of around about 2/3 the size of the pot. Now, with my three bet, I'm obviously repping aces or maybe kings, certainly an overpair. So if he wants to call with a jack or a 7 and try and spike two pair on the turn, he's going to do that regardless of how much I bet, I think. I mean, if I hit the pot button and I get raised, it then gives me a really awkward decision because I'm looking at probably getting 2-1 on my money with a gut shot that's to the nuts and possibly two live backdoor flush draws as well as an ace or a king. Maybe good enough to win the pot as well. I mean, even ace high if he's got something like 6, 8, 9, 10. So by keeping the bet small, if we get check raised here, we're probably just going to let the hand go because we haven't really got anything that we can really continue with. Anyway, he does in fact call, and the turn comes down a 3. Now that's really quite a good card for us. If he's floating with a jack or a 7 and he's looking to make two pair, if he thinks we've got aces, then he's now well behind and he needs to hit. If he's got a jack, he needs to hit another jack. He can't hit one of his side cards because we're always going to have aces and 3s and he can only have jacks and kings or queens or whatever his other side cards are. So the 3 was a really good card, and that's ignoring the fact that it gives us a flush draw as well. It was just a great card because now he really can't continue with his hand if he's put us on aces and if he's trying to outdraw us. But we don't need to. He's got 1080 left. Now if we ignore his stack size somewhat at this point, let's say he had $20 or $30. The standard bet that I would put out here would be around about half the pot, and that's what I do here, $6. And the reason that I do this is because if he had a 3 in his hand or something like that, he's not going to fold because he's put us on our big pair, and in his mind he's now gone way ahead of us. So we're going to be faced, if we'd bet his $12 and he got $20, he's then going to shove all in, and we're going to be calling $8 in a pot that's escalated towards $40. So we're probably just going to have to call purely on the odds alone. And by keeping the bet size small, we're basically going to win the pot exactly the same amount of time as if we would have bet $12 or $8. because unless he's got a 3 or he's been sitting snug with 3 jacks or 3 sevens, he's going to have to pretty much fold every other hand that he holds, and that includes obviously hands like random jacks, which are currently in front of us, and that's exactly what happens. He folds, and we take down a really nice pot. Now, the interesting thing behind this hand, if we go back to pre-flop, is the fact that this is a situation where you should always 3-bet. If we hadn't 3-bet here, if we just called his bet, we would have missed the flop. He would have continuation betted. Now we would probably have to make a call on this flop, just because we've got a gut shot, we've got those backdoor flush draws. If say something like the ace of spades came on the turn, we would have a fairly strong hand that we probably wouldn't have any qualms about getting all of our money in with. But we're certainly probably going to call the flop with this hand, unless we're probably going to look at some tells. His bet sizing. If he mashes the pot instantly, we're probably in a shove or fold situation. But if he puts like the same kind of continuation bet that we put in, $3 maybe $4, we're probably going to be forced to call, and the turn's going to come down to 3, which we now know. Now, if we'd called that and then he shoves all in, we really can't call with just a bare flush draw. I mean, he could be sitting there with a full house already. We really have no idea because we've not defined our hand pre-flop by 3-betting, which was probably the most important move that we made in this hand, because that enabled us to take control of the pot and subsequently pull off a really nice bluff that enabled us to win a pot that otherwise we probably wouldn't have done.